Today we're going to be producing a song in the style of 21 Pilots. 21 Pilots discography is very mixed. You've got lots of kind of heavy rock songs and also like a lot of hip hop influences. So we're going to make something that's kind of leaning towards the hip hop side. We've added a lot of guitars into this production, as you'll see, and added some like voices as well to make things interesting. So we're going to make something similar to arguably their two biggest songs, Stressed Out and Ride, off the album Blurry Face. We're also going to take some inspiration from the song Morph off the 2018 album Trench. I'm going to be using Cubase, but obviously you can apply these techniques to whichever software you prefer. So yeah, let's dive into the project. So the first thing we're going to look at is the drums. So I'll just give you a preview of what it sounds like. So yeah, that's the project, so let's dive into it and we'll have a look at the drums first. So I've tried to keep the drums as simple as possible and keep the beat quite simple. You often find with hip hop music the beat's like generally quite simple. So the first thing we're going to look at is the kick. But first I'll play the drums to you on their own. So the drums are going to sound something like this. Again, quite a simple groove, very like groovy. The song's actually in triplets as well, so I've got this part up here set up to 1/16 triplets. That's going to give the grid like 6 places between every beat, basically. So yeah, let's look at the kick drum. So the kick on its own sounds something like this. Again, it's just a nice, like, quite hard sounding sample that I found from a sample pack. We've got no processing on this other than an EQ. So on this EQ, we've just scooped out the mids just to make it less like boxy sounding and more full. We've taken a bit of the high end out as well because there's a lot of high end actually coming from a lot of the like hi-hat elements that we've got. And then we're just boosting down the bottom as well. So I'll play one of them with the EQ and one of them without. So this is without the EQ and then this is with the EQ. So again, just kind of like tightens things up and makes it sound more full. Next element we've got is the snare drum. So this is actually made up of 2 snares. So the first one sounds like this, and the second one sounds like this. So the first snare drum's actually quite like a live sounding snare. If we look at the EQ, I've done absolutely no processing other than just remove the like very bottom end. So about anything below 100 Hertz, just because there's nothing going on there and we just want to get rid of that initial like rumble. Yeah, quite like a heavy sounding snare. We're layering that with a more electronic sounding snare that sounds like... We're getting quite a lot of like mid-range from this, so I'm boosting around 1 kilohertz. Just to add some more kind of like presence and bite to the snare drum. So we're grouping both of these to a bus as well. And on this group, we have just got a compressor. So this compressor is called the Glue. It's modelled on an SSL compressor, which is cool. Just adding a bit of compression to this, about 3 decibels of gain reduction. So I'll play it without the compressor and then with the compressor. So let's play the kick drum and the snare together. So that's the kick and the snare. Again, a very simple beat. Now in terms of hi-hats, we've got one main hi-hat layer. The hi-hat's got this like weird kind of attack sound to it, which I quite like. It's kind of quite metallic sounding. So we've just got this on the 8th beats. I'll play it with the clicked track. So what I've done with this is I've adjusted the velocity of every hi-hat that's on the beat, and then the one that's on the offbeat is at full velocity. So it's kind of like accenting the offbeats, which is a cool thing to do. And also on the 4th one, I've actually removed it completely. I find like removing elements, especially from like hi-hats, makes things like so much more interesting and makes the groove kind of like move forward more. And we've got a tambourine in here as well. So this tambourine is... It's kind of playing that like swing kind of feel, like dun 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 dun. That's where like the triplet groove comes from. And again, I've taken down the velocity of some of the hits just to make it kind of like sound more realistic. I'll give you an example. This is what the groove is like if I didn't change any velocity. And then if I change the velocity of some of the elements, it's like... Just adds such more of like a human element to it. Then the next part we've got is this like ghost snare that comes in. The ghost snare is like much quieter than the original snare, and it's kind of placed on these like little offbeats just to make the snare like groove more. If I play this snare on its own, it's like a really high pitched snare as well. So if I play that with drum beat, you'll see what I mean. Just kind of like adds this like swing to it. So if I play all the drums on their own, You can really hear that like offbeat hi-hat. It really adds so much to it. So yeah, that's basically the drums. We've also added in some like crash cymbals as well. It's actually just some white noise from this little like drum machine plugin. So now let's look at the bass. So the groove of the bass is actually quite simple. It's just literally 2 notes. So I'll just play it for you. So again, just really simple A, and then there's like a fill note G down to the E. So literally the song is just A and E for the whole thing, you know, keep it simple. On the intro of the song, we've got this kind of like vintage sounding bass. So yeah, if I play that with the song, the bass sounds like... So again, on this like more like low bass that's playing over the top, because they're kind of in a similar frequency range, I'm using this plugin called Track Spacer. So I'm basically side chaining this main bass to the this like the one that's holding the single chords down. Just because we don't want any clashing frequencies. So when we've got this bass playing, the other bass is like ducking down in volume. You can kind of like hear that side chaining happening. That's just to stop any frequencies like clashing with each other. So yeah, that's the drums and the bass. So really kind of simple stuff. Now let's look at the chords we've got. So we've got a couple of chord elements in here. Again, we're just playing these 2 notes, so A and E, A minor and then an E major. So that just kind of loops throughout the whole song. This is just a preset from Vintage Keys inside Complete Native Instruments. It's quite a cool hip-hoppy sounding pad. And we've also layering that with an organ as well. Now this organ again is coming from Complete Native Instruments, coming from Contact. So you can adjust these levels just to make the organ like sound how you want. So again, that's layering over the top. So those two together sound like... So if I play that with all the other elements we've spoken about so far, we're going to get something that sounds like this. So yeah, that's basically it for the chords. Again, really, really simple stuff. There's also in the chorus of the song this other synth that comes in. It's kind of like an 80s sounding synth. So this is made inside Massive. So we're just basically, I've got a saw wave that's going into a bandpass filter, and we're just closing the bandpass filter with this envelope here. So by having a long decay, it's just kind of like taking a while to really like close that filter. So yeah, in the chorus, if we just play all of that, what we've done so far. So I've also added some guitar elements to this song. So this beat actually starts with an electric guitar that sounds like... So again, we're just playing the same chords, A minor and E. So we're using Guitar Rig to process this guitar. So this is just a preset called Basic Twang Reverb. I've adjusted it slightly just to get it to the desirable sound. And then this guitar as well is also being EQ'd. We're getting rid of some of that high end just because I felt it was a bit too harsh in the song. And then we're also compressing this with a CLA2A. Quite a lot of compression. The compressors are absolutely amazing for guitars. So yeah, that's the guitar. And then we've also got some like little riffs we've added in as well. And then also in the chorus of the song, the main section where everything comes in, we've just got some strummed guitars that sound like... kind of like more hard-hitting guitars for the chorus when the whole section comes in. So if I add everything we've done so far, this is the chorus with the guitars in. Really adds so much and really fills out the sound those guitars do. If I just play it without the guitars, then I'll add them in now. just adds so much more energy to the project. So now we're going to look at the lead lines. So again, the lead's quite simple. We've just got a melody that sounds something like this. I'll play it with one of the chord tracks as well, just so you can kind of hear how it sounds with the chords. A really simple sounding lead that sounds kind of quite sad, really adds a lot to like the vibe of the song, especially in the chorus. Oh, in terms of like the sound design for this, it's just a very simple patch. This oscillator's called a screamer, and then we've got 2 saw waves slightly detuned from each other. So if you listen on the note, the filter gradually like opens slightly, and that's done with this envelope just here, envelope number 2. So if I turn that all the way down, you'll be able to see what this envelope is doing to the sound. And then this is with the envelope longer. You can kind of hear that filter like opens as the sound progresses, which sounds really cool. In the intro, we've got a... So we've also got this sound in there. I've called it Dr. Dre lead because I thought it sounded a bit like something Dr. Dre would use. So yeah, that's just made with Massive again. We're just using a square wave this time, again, ran through a filter. And then also at the intro of the song, we've got this like texture. I think I recorded it myself. It was like the sound of a frying pan being used or something. Almost sounds like the rain. It just adds a lot to like the intro of the song. You can kind of hear that little like texture in the background, which sounds quite cool. Now in terms of vocals, in the chorus of the song, we've just got these 3 vocals that are sent to a group. Just some like oohs and some ahs in the background, so I'll play these on their own. Again, doing absolutely nothing special, we're just doing the A and the E again. So the song's really, really simple, really stripped back, just literally A and E. So in terms of mixing, so we've got 3 vocals here. We've got a main one, just here, and then 1 panned left, 1 panned right, all sent to a group. Then in terms of processing, we've got an EQ, boosting a lot of high end, taking out a lot of the lows, a lot of that mud, and then again compressed with a compressor. And then we're sending them all to a reverb that is about 2 seconds long. We've also EQ'd the reverb as well, just to get rid of a lot of the low end, which is a cool thing to do. So yeah, I'll play this chorus to you with the vocals in and without, so you can hear the difference. So this is with the vocals in. And then if I take the vocals out, it will sound something like this. It's very like subtle, but it definitely adds some texture to it. So that's the song. I kind of basically added elements and removed elements to form like the intro and like verses and stuff. So as we go into like the verse of the song. So in my head, this was kind of after the chorus, this is the section where there'd be like vocals, whether it be singing or rapping or something. We've kind of removed literally everything other than this 1 pad and the bass as well. So yeah, again, the bass is super, super simple in this verse. It's literally just... So that's playing as well as the little chords as well. So that's the verse section. So yeah, that's basically the final thing. So I'll play from the start to the finish for you now so you can hear how like the whole thing sounds all together.